So Thanksgivings have been going really well these last 3 years since Nick and I kind of took over. I can't remember if it's because I just decided that I could do it better or if we were actually asked to take over Thanksgiving. But since then we haven't had a overcooked bird. Sorry, Dad.
The stuffing is the best, and that's not debatable.
Whipped sweet potatoes with marshmallow fluff over the top is just not my idea of Thanksgiving. I think you can do better, and you should do better.
What just happened?
Did you break the spoon?
No.
Oh.
No. My finger just hit it.
I was more worried about the spoon. Quiet on set.
Okay.
We're still rolling. Oh shit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Nick and Josh channel. I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh, and today we have a very special episode for you. We are cooking Friendsgiving.
It's been a while since we've made a video on this channel. I think since last we made a video, we moved out of Wauwatosa into a different apartment. Josh started graduate school for nursing. We moved into a house, which you're seeing right now, and renovated things like this beautiful kitchen.
Yes.
And have just been up and down all over the place with life.
Pause. We got engaged.
We got engaged.
So this is gonna be a good day for many reasons. One, we get to spend it with some of our friends, but two, we are also practicing for the real Thanksgiving, if you will, because Thanksgiving's gonna be hosted at our house this year. So we're gonna try out some new recipes, try out some new techniques, see what works, and if it's good, then we'll get to share that with our family later this month.
And with that, we've got to take pie out of the oven.
So, it's the day before Thanksgiving, or in our case, Friendsgiving, and there's lots of stuff to do before the big day.
What do we need to accomplish? Well, we're gonna make the entire pumpkin cheesecake. We're gonna prep the bread for our stuffing. We're going to prep our dough for the apple pie.
We're gonna pull the turkey out of the fridge, which has already been thawing. We're gonna make a turkey stock with some of the extra bits from the turkey. We're gonna get some rest tonight. We're gonna finish cleaning, setting the table, getting the house all in order for guests to arrive.
And most importantly, hydrating. Hydration.
So we have our turkey here. I've taken out the neck and all the little giblets that they left us on the inside. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep our turkey stock that we're gonna use tomorrow for the gravy and the stuffing. And I'm gonna put it in a pot and I'm gonna start browning it. Next, we're gonna add some veggies that are gonna add a lot of flavor. We got carrots, shallot, onion, and some garlic going into the pan. You can already smell the fragrance of the herbs. The turkey bits that we put in there are getting nice and brown. So we'll just let that go a couple more minutes before we add the water. So this is 4 cups of water going in. It's probably gonna take almost 10 cups of water. You wanna make sure everything is completely covered. So then we're gonna keep this on like a medium-high heat to simmer for the next 2 to 4 hours, just until everything starts to come together and all the flavors melt. I am gonna salt the water a little bit here. And then add in a little bit of pepper. And this is nice just to kind of set now, forget about it, let it do its thing. When we come back to it in a couple hours, we'll strain it and we will have turkey stock for tomorrow.
Josh has his stock going and the kitchen smells fantastic. I'm gonna start prepping the cheesecake for tomorrow. Cheesecake is one of those desserts that you can make ahead of time because you want it to chill completely. You don't want it to be warm. It's actually best served cold. Another reason why we're doing a pumpkin cheesecake instead of a pumpkin pie is because it's one of those desserts that's really easy to make gluten-free. All you have to do is sub the graham cracker crust for gluten-free graham cracker crusts, and this is a really good dessert for any of your gluten-free friends who'd want a cheesecake. We're gonna start with the crust. All you're gonna do is you're gonna add your gluten-free graham cracker crumbs, the butter. and your sugar and pumpkin pie seasoning to the bowl. All you're gonna do is mix that together until it looks like a good sandy base. You definitely don't want to add too much butter, otherwise you're gonna get a crust that just melts butter all over your oven and it's gonna be a disaster. So you want it to look kind of like this, nice and sandy. Still firm enough that if you take a little bit and you crush it, you're gonna have a little bit of a clump. So that's perfect texture right here. After that's done, we're gonna take our 9-inch springform pan and we're gonna take about half of the mixture and start working it up the sides. And why you do this instead of pouring it all in the pan itself is to make sure that you get an even, consistent layer up the sides in addition to the bottom. And then what I like to do is take a measuring cup and actually just press along the sides. It makes it super easy to just put the crust up as far as you can get it onto the springform pan. All right, I've mounded the crust along the edges, and now we're gonna take the rest of that filling and just put it all on the bottom. Now you can see that you can spread it really evenly to make sure that the crust has that even texture and even thickness along all parts of it. Now we're gonna put this in a 350 oven for 7 to 10 minutes until it's got a good golden color on it. All right, now that our crust is in the oven, we're gonna make the filling. And the important part to know with the cheesecake, in order to eliminate the lumps in your mixture, is to make sure that all of your ingredients are room temperature. So I've been having the cream cheese, the eggs, and the heavy cream all sit out all morning just to make sure that they're the even temperature and they won't lump together in the mixture. So we're going to add the cream cheese, the sugar mixture, and the pumpkin pie seasoning into the bowl. All right, now that it's finished mixing and I have a smooth and luxurious batter, I'm just gonna finish it off by scraping the bottom of the bowl and mixing it by hand for a little bit just to make sure that we have everything off of the bottom. Now we're gonna pour all of that filling into the springform pan, making sure that we don't overfill. This goes into the 350 oven for about 60 minutes. I'm gonna put a timer on for 50 and then we're gonna look for a wobble, which I'll explain once we get there. All right, I think the cheesecake is at a wobble gobble state. Perfect for Thanksgiving. What we're looking for is for the whole thing to move as one and not jiggle 100% where it's like waves. It's congealed enough where I think we're at the point now where you don't want it to cool down. It's been shot. Oh no!
I'm being shot! I'm being shot!
You stabbed the cheesecake? I stabbed it. What do you have to say for yourself? Breaking news. Hello. It's a Thanksgiving disaster. The cheesecake has been spited. The door is ajar on the cheesecake and we're just gonna let it come gradually up to room temperature by keeping it in there, ovens off for like another hour, and then we'll take it off to finish coming up to room temperature. This prevents cracking on the top.
So now it's turkey time. We have our turkey. It's about 13 or 14 pounds, which is good enough to feed probably like 7 to 8 people, which is perfect for our size Thanksgiving. So what we like to do the day before is do a dry brine. So that's where you add now black pepper, which I just had to crack a lot of, some salt and some brown sugar, and just coat the whole thing in it, and then we're gonna let it sit overnight until we're ready to go tomorrow. That really has a lot of time to let a lot of flavor get into the turkey, as well as draw out a lot of moisture from that skin, so when we bake it, it'll be nice and crispy then. So I have maybe like a quarter cup, couple tablespoons of black pepper. Now we're gonna add in a quarter cup of salt. And probably a quarter cup of brown sugar. And the brown sugar isn't necessarily gonna make it sweet, but it's just gonna help with the caramelization and bring out the flavors of all our other seasonings that we're using here. So we have the turkey, we have our mixture of salt, pepper, and brown sugar, and we're just gonna start packing it in everywhere on top of our turkey. And it's gonna fall around. It's a little messy. You can, I don't know, I think this part's fun. You get to see it start to come together. It's like putting sprinkles on a cake if your cake was a 13-pound raw turkey the day before Thanksgiving. And whatever falls onto the sheet tray, I'll just be able to lift up and put back on the turkey. So now this is gonna go in the fridge to sit overnight until tomorrow, until we're ready. It's okay to keep uncovered, just you have to make sure you have enough fridge space. It can go in the upstairs fridge, it can go in the downstairs fridge, it can go in the garage fridge, whatever fridge you have, okay? But it can't stay here, it's gotta go.
Alrighty, we got one more thing to prep. It's the stuffing. And you're like, stuffing the day before? Why the hell do we need to prep stuffing? Well, we're gonna make it ourselves. So we got 2 loaves of sourdough bread from a local bakery. And what we're gonna do actually is tear these things apart into the breadcrumbs that go into our stuffing. We're doing this the day before so that it dries out completely. And then when we soak it in that egg custard mixture to actually make it stuffing, it'll be rehydrated, plump, and just ultimately delicious. What does Ina say? She's like, you can make your own sourdough, but store-bought is fine. We tore all this bread. It is ready to dry out overnight. Just let it sit uncovered, and then it'll be ready tomorrow to make the stuffing.
So our turkey stock is all done. It's been going for about 3 hours just on a low simmer on the stove. It smells amazing. The color is great. So I'm gonna strain it now. Gonna get my containers.
You're gonna ladle.
I think I'm gonna go for it. Should I go for it?
Sure, try.
Okay. Be brave, be bold. Here we go. Look at that. That is a great color for a turkey stock that has been simmering for 3 hours. I know it was maybe a little bit tedious, but since we had the ingredients, we had the time while we were prepping everything here on day 1, it is 100% worth it, and it's gonna make all of our food tomorrow taste that much better.
It's pie day. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do today is make your apple pie. It'll use the oven for about an hour and it goes right in before the turkey. I've got Macintosh apples here with some sugar. I've got cinnamon and nutmeg, lime juice, and all-purpose flour. First step we're gonna do is really get peeling. All right, so then you just wanna cut your apple. I don't core them. I just slice along all 4 sides of it so I get the core out. And then what I do is I take my apple and just slice them really thin because we want them to bake down nice and even, making sure you don't have too many chunks of apple. We got 7 of our peeled and chopped apples. Now we're gonna sprinkle in the sugars, add 2 tablespoons of flour, gives it a good thickening agent, lemon juice for a bit of acidity, and then our spices, which are just cinnamon and nutmeg. Give it a good mix so that everything gets combined. And then I'll set these aside and get ready to roll out the dough. All right, we got our chilled dough here. There's always gonna be one that's a little bit bigger, and the bigger one I like to use for the bottom crust. So what we're gonna do, since it's a little bit cool, is wake it up a little bit by pounding it on the surface. This makes the butter malleable, and roll it out as best you can to get to be a circle. There you go. Any pieces that start to break off, you can just bring back together. It'll continue to roll out really nice and even then. Keep rolling it out until you get to about the size and a little bit more than your pie plate. I got a little bit more to go. So now we're gonna transfer this to our pie plate. The easiest way to do this is just to roll it onto your rolling pin. Pick it up and transfer it over. And then instead of just pushing down right here, you're just gonna take it and you're gonna gently fit it into your pie plate, making sure that you're not stretching it out too much. Once it's relaxed over the edges, you're gonna come in here with a little bit of a scissor. And you're just gonna take off a little bit from the sides, making it uniform, making sure you have about like an inch excess off of the pie plate underneath. Now we're gonna just mix this one more time before we put it into our chilled pie dough. And what you're actually gonna wanna do instead of just dumping this all into the pie plate is start to arrange them a little by little and making sure that they've got good flat contact to stack with each other. We're gonna lattice. It's not as hard as people make it sound. You're just gonna start with 4 across. Okay, once you got your 4 across, give it a little tilt over. I've got a couple that are falling apart, but we'll get there. And then what you wanna do is just start piecing back which ones alternating that you wanna go under them. And we're gonna do the same thing, is do 2 and 2 to get the last 4 of the lattice on there. Last one on this side, so do the alternating piece. See, it really is not that difficult. All right, there's our lattice. Now what you're gonna do kind of in a similar fashion to what we did with the crust is if you have anything that's like hella hanging over, we're gonna give those a bit of a trim so they only extend by about a 1/2 inch. And then same way as before, we're gonna press into the sides of the crust, making sure that the lattice is making firm contact with that so they don't pop up when they start to bake.
You missed one. You missed a little guy over there.
You can fold some of them over too to make sure that they adhere really nicely. And now what we can do, just with a little bit of flour, is start to crimp the edges. It's really simple, just 2 fingers in the top, 1 finger on the outside, and just start going around and pressing the dough right into the pie plate, making sure we got really good adhesion. Now we're just gonna add the egg wash. You really don't need to like glob it on. It just needs to be like a really light layer. Otherwise it's just gonna make everything a little bit too moist. Pie's all set. We've got it tented with a little bit of foil so it doesn't get too golden brown, and we put it on a pie plate in case there's some spillage over so it doesn't get into our oven. All right, 25 minutes. And then we'll lower it down to 350 and bake it for the last 1/2 hour.
As we know now, it's day 2. It's the day of thanks and giving, the day of friends. So we have our turkey here that's been sitting in the fridge with that dry brine that we did. Garlic going in. We're gonna put a couple of the lemon pieces inside. Again, you don't wanna stuff it too full. Then I'm gonna take some of my thyme over here. That'll go in. So once that's all set there, you've kind of made it its little ground. We're just gonna set them in on top there. So Nick's pie is in the oven. That's taking up our oven right now. Once that's done, bird's going in, but it can just sit out here now at room temperature to come up to temp, which will just help it cook more evenly in the oven.
The turkey is going in. It's gonna bake at 350 for about 3 hours with basting.
Just
fits
fit.
like a glove. Every turkey needs a buddy.
Hi, Frankie.
Hello.
Hi.
Pie's ready to come out. It's been baking for about like an hour and 20 minutes, but it's golden brown and it's ready to come out. Ooh, nice and jammy. Looks really jammy. Now we're just gonna let it sit. Update. Apple pie just came out of the oven. Our turkey's in. We have about 3 hours till our guests arrive. So now it's time to prep all of our veggies so that once it hits go time, we are ready to go. Now it's time to prep our veggies for the stuffing. Our stuffing is gonna have a lot of natural flavors. So I'm gonna finish chopping all 6 of these stalks. And then we got leek, onion, and garlic also in this stuffing. We're melting some oil and butter on a medium heat right now. And once that's all melted, we're gonna add our leek, onion, celery, and garlic mixture. Okay, we're gonna make the custard. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 full cups of turkey stock, add that to our custard mixture, And just so we don't have a dry ass custard, because nobody wants that, we're gonna do a little bit extra. To that, we're gonna add 3 eggs. It's a good binding agent. Well, can I try doing a one-hander or no?
Just shattered in your
I
hand.
think that was good.
That sound.
Okay. And we're browned. Okay. Adding our celery, onion, leeks, and garlic into the pan with the butter and oil. I'm like Cinderella in the, or no, it's Snow White. Snow White in the kitchen. Just season while you work.
Okay, don't do that.
We'll season this because we want to season as we go, so we develop the flavors. Got some salt and pepper. This has been going for about 8 minutes. Now we're gonna add half cup of just some dry white wine. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And this is gonna give a good acidic flavor to the stuffing. This is the bread that we prepped yesterday. If you can remember, we left it out overnight. It's now really dry and crusty, which will be perfect for when we add it to the egg mixture. It's gonna just soak up all that moisture. So the rest of the herbs that we didn't use for the, where do we use herbs?
Turkey.
Turkey? Did we put herbs?
And now stuffing.
Turkey, okay. The rest of the herbs that we didn't use in the turkey is gonna go into the stuffing. So I've got a half cup of parsley here, just eyeballing it pretty much. I've got thyme as well. We're gonna put that into the custard mixture and get it one last fluff. Okay, we're adding our celery mixture back into the custard mixture. And we're gonna give this one more toss before we add it into our stuffing pan. And now we add it to our 9x13. Let's hope this whole thing, oh, I think we can do it. Holy Mary
stuffing.
Mountain. Oh, I think, okay, this will be good. All right, we're gonna cover this now with foil. And this goes into our oven with the turkey and everything at the same temperature for 30 minutes, and that's our first bake on it. Now that stuffing's in the oven, we're gonna prep our potatoes by boiling them. So we've got 4 pounds of potatoes that need to be boiled.
So stuffing's in, potatoes are boiling, apple pie's done. It is like halfway through the turkey being in the oven, and we're gonna take it out, check it. Oh. Whew. She's already looking more golden than I thought she would at the start. Wow, listen to that sizzle. Yeah, so we want to get closer to 165. I'll probably take it out at like 150, 155, and then let it sit, just kind of continue cooking. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna drizzle it with a little bit of butter and olive oil kind of on the top, which is gonna help baste it and then keep the skin nice and crispy. My tiny little pastry brush. So I'm gonna use this, some of the drippings and then the butter that we just poured down. And we're just gonna get all the parts with some of that cooking liquid to help keep it moist and then to help it crisp up again when we put it in the oven for the last hour. And back into the oven she goes. So next is to prep the fall squash medley. So I have a butternut squash here, a couple of sweet potatoes. So with this, I'm gonna chop them up, dice them, and then we're gonna be adding brown butter, sage, lemon, pepper, brown sugar, and then we're gonna toast some pecans, and then that'll be going over the top. All my sweet potato is ready in the bowl. It just so happens that the bowl matches the sweet potato. I did not plan that. If you've never cut a butternut squash, the best way to do it is to take the top off. No stages. Thank you, Frankie. Then stand it up on end and work your knife through it. It helps if you have a sharp knife. Oh, it cut like butter. So these we're gonna scoop out on the inside here, and then we're gonna chop this up and add it to the sweet potatoes. That was a pretty darn good scoop.
Potatoes are boiling, so we're just prepping all the remaining kind of saucy ingredients for the potatoes, which is dill, sour cream, butter, and heavy cream.
I'm stabbing the potatoes with a fork, and if it slides right off the fork, come journey. So even some of these big ones, you stab it with the fork and it just slides right off, is when you know they're done. So you can turn this off, kill the heat, drain these, and set them aside for when we're ready for potatoes. Again,
I have lots of opinions on green bean casserole. Personally, green bean casserole is my favorite dish of Thanksgiving. Even the mushy green beans out of a can with a can of cream of mushroom soup and the French's onions, but I love the French's onions when they get crispy in the oven. We're gonna elevate that, okay? Because we're adults and we can do better, and once again, you deserve better. So let's break it down. So we're gonna make our own French's crispy onions by frying some shallots in oil. We got our green beans that we're gonna be using, and then we're gonna be making our homemade cream of mushroom soup. I've never made homemade cream of mushroom soup before, but we're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be great.
Okay, medium heat in our pan. We're gonna drop some oil in, and then we're just gonna fry the shallots, and that's how they're gonna get crispy. And then we can save that oil for the cooking of our green beans when we blitz those in the pan. So drop them in. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit higher because we really want that oil to be hot to fry them. We're not trying to like saute and make caramelized onions. We are trying to get crispy onions.
A few moments later.
So the shallots got nice and crispy. As you can see here, they're a good color. I don't want them to go too much longer, so I'm gonna transfer them here onto the paper towel to kind of dry out before we use it as the topping for our green bean casserole. That's probably like one of the best ones I've ever done too so far. Just saying. Okay, let's temper. Let's see how she's doing.
Or two.
On that side.
Yeah, that's the like biggest part.
Oh yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done. She's done.
Stunning.
Hot. Stunning. So the bird is done. She's done. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's stunning. She's golden brown. She's got her fall tan on. Now we just have to find a spot for her to sit and cool. Now that the turkey's out of the oven, we have to get our fall squash medley done.
We're in the pan.
Do you think?
100%.
2 pans of sweet potato? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're gonna drizzle with olive oil. Okay. Before my hands get all oily, salt. Pepper. In case you missed it, we already had to refill the pepper grinder once today because we've been using so much pepper and everything. And we're not even done yet. Let's bake these at 425 for about 45 minutes, I would say, until they're nice and roasted. We'll take them out and then we'll put the brown butter and sage mixture over the top of them. Okay, before we get too ahead of ourselves with the green beans, we have to make our homemade cream of mushroom soup, okay? So first what I'm gonna do in the pan is a tab of butter. I'm gonna add the onions. We're just gonna give them kind of a rough chop. And then these are all gonna be sweated down together in this pot. So I'm gonna bring it over to the stove. Come on, come with me to the stove. Once this cooks down quite a bit, we'll be ready to add our butter. Then we'll add the flour. It'll thicken everything in here. And we'll kind of basically are making a roux then out of the onions and the mushrooms. And then we'll add in some of our turkey stock, some heavy cream, and we will have homemade cream of mushroom soup. So we have our big pan here. So a little bit of the shallot oil is gonna be in there. We're gonna get this super hot, and then we're gonna add our green beans to kind of blitz them, get a lot of heat, get a little bit of char on them, and they're gonna be great and ready to go for the casserole. Mushroom soup, which will soon be is simmering down, so I'm gonna add the butter. It's still got a little bit of moisture in there from the onions and mushrooms, but I think we're gonna be okay. Green beans are going right next to us. Those are doing good. So once that butter melts, I'm gonna add the flour, and we are gonna be thick, thick, thick. Add your flour, and this is gonna be real thick. The mushrooms might start to break down just a little bit, but we have to cook all this flour for a while until it's a deep, rich, kind of golden brown color. You can see after adding our cream, it's already starting to get nice and thick, but I'm gonna fortify it with a little bit of our turkey stock, and then I'm gonna add a dash of Worcestershire sauce to really help bring it together and finish that flavor.
We're at the 45-minute mark. Guests arrived then. We're gonna put the stuffing in for the second bake. So the temperature is at 425. We're gonna put it on the top rack, and all of these crispy, craggly bits where we tore, we wanna see those get really crispy and golden brown, and then our stuffing will be done.
I think my green beans are done, so I'm gonna take them off the heat. We're gonna go straight to the plate here, which is the one we're gonna be serving them right off of.
Oh my gosh.
So see how, you know, some are all different levels of doneness, but you get so many of the crispy charred bits in there. Those are gonna have flavor, they're gonna have texture with all the green beans. We have our homemade cream of mushroom soup that we're gonna top with it. It's a deconstructed green bean casserole, so don't come for me, okay? But all the ingredients are there, the premise is there. Guys, I like starved myself today just for this food. And green bean casserole is my favorite dish. I didn't even use a recipe for this. I just made it from my brains. Our crispy fried shallots we made. This is what we want to see. Gorgeous, gorgeous gravy gets gorgeous, gorgeous shallots.
Now for the next part, we have our cranberries. The best cranberries are obviously the ones out of the can and the jellied ones, not the sauce. We don't mess with the sauce around here, okay? And we're just simply gonna slice it.
Ooh, look at that fall. Kind of arrange those. Ooh, that's fun. And then we have some oranges here. So you could just do the cranberries, but I think this will just take it to another level. Kind of make it a little fruit salad moment, if you will. This is a blood orange here that we found, and it's so juicy. It kind of blends in with the color of the other orange and the cranberry. I have the hodgepodge of leftover butter that we have from today. I'm gonna melt that down in a pan, and we are going to wait until the butter solids start to brown. It's gonna smell toasty, it's gonna smell nutty in here. And then we're gonna add our sage, which will kind of like fry and crackle crispy a little in the oil, and then finish with lemon zest. Sweet potatoes are finally done. So since we have two pans, I'm gonna take them out one at a time. And I'm gonna transfer them into this bowl, which is where I will mix in the brown butter and sage. All right, so these are still hot, right from the oven. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of brown sugar and then toss. So that's gonna bring out the natural sweetness of the sweet potatoes. So things are happening over here at the stove. So see these golden brown bits in the butter? That's the brown butter that we just made. So I have to kill the heat because it can go real quick. I'll come over here. Add in the lemon, add in your sage. I wish you guys could smell this. The things are happening.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Then we're gonna go right over on top of the sweet potatoes. And then the last piece de resistance, something like that, is to top with some candied pecans. I just melted down some butter in that same brown butter pan with a little bit more brown sugar, and voila, you have candied pecans for the sweet potatoes.
One of the final steps we'll take, if you remember my cheesecake that got impaled yesterday, what I'm gonna do to hide this one crack that would have been totally seamless if it wasn't for the spoon that just impaled my cheesecake, we're gonna cover it with some whipped cream topping. The rest of our heavy whipping cream that we were gonna use today, and just whip it really quick. Something simple and easy that you can do to make this go a lot faster is to put your bowl in the freezer beforehand, which is what we did, and it'll come together 10 times faster.
Is that where we wanna be?
Stiff, yes. Cheesecake looks fabulous. Obviously, there's a big crack in it, so what we can do is just cover it up. Last thing to do is do a caramel drizzle on it, and we're just gonna try to like usher little dribbles down the side. Ooh, there we go.
We have our turkey stock that we made yesterday, and I'm sorry to say, I don't know if this is what adulting is when you get super excited, but I am just obsessed with this stock. The taste, the color, the everything, but gravy, okay? So into the pan, we're gonna reduce this down a little bit to strain off some of that water that's been in there, and then we'll just add a little cornstarch slurry to thicken it up, a couple dashes of soy sauce, and our gravy will be good to go. So we're running just a little bit behind, but Allie has so graciously decided to help us with the potatoes. So you're just taking it by hand and literally smashing it. She did wash her hands, I did see, I can verify.
Okay, so I'm putting the cream, garlic, butter mixture into the potatoes, which have been smashed by hand. Oh, look at that, smells so good. A cup of sour cream. Mix it all. Oh, this looks so good. Okay, chives and dill to finish these suckers off.
Be gentle with her. I think that's good.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of dill, Nick.
Absolutely delicious.
Things have changed. Guests are here. I've changed. The turkey is done. It's rested. We're ready to carve into it and see what we're dealing with. So we're gonna start with the breast. We're gonna start right at the breastbone. Okay, we're gonna rip. Oh, look at that. For presentation. Frankie, that's a little bit for you.
The placing of the wing.
All right, well, it's been quite a day. We have a feast, to say the least, in front of us here today. We're so excited to be celebrating Friendsgiving with all of our wonderful friends. Now we can just sit back and enjoy.
Stunning.
There we go.